Mai finds out that John is working, and they realize that if his sister finds out, she won't let him work. Once they encounter her in front of them, and Mai tries to keep her and Lee away from him. Lee carries her on his back because her legs are hurting. He takes them to Mai's place to have dinner together and let her calm down a bit. Meanwhile, Ron goes to her area, where everyone is tired, and he can't stand it. He keeps wiping his hands and sees her coming with them. She apologizes to him for closing the door on his face. He wanted her for overtime work, and she agrees and will go with him. But Lee stops her because of her legs, which annoys Ran. He tells her that since her legs hurt, she should rest instead of going out. He walks away with Cam and she goes home where her legs are treated and she feels upset. She complains to him about Ran. Meanwhile, Ran goes home and talks to his psychiatrist on the phone. The psychiatrist advises him to stay away from Young because she might develop feelings for him, worsening his condition. However, the next day, he goes to the company and brings her treatment for her legs. He finds a letter from the fence he sold to, thanking him for the thorough cleaning job done by the drainage company and inviting him to dinner. He asks the manual cleaning department manager about her and learns that she went with another employee to clean the company. He decides to accept the dinner invitation from Sal just to see her. At Young's place, she meets Jack there, who introduces her to Sal. Jack tells her that she has helped them with several ads before and could help them with their work this time. Sal agrees, but Young remains reluctant. Jack follows her and tries to persuade her. How does Young feel about this? She listens to their conversation. Young enters the car and refuses Jack's offer. She sits there, contemplating Jack's words. She becomes upset. Her colleague asks her to let Sal sign the paper confirming their thorough cleaning. She decides to go, but Jack stops her again, as he and Sal are there. Jack tells them that they have agreed on the job already. Rand notices that she's not agreeing. He holds her hand and informs them that he prohibits any employee from working elsewhere without telling him. He takes her and they leave. While going down the stairs, they stumble and she falls on him. He faints because of it. She takes him to the hospital crying. The colleague stays with her. When he wakes up, she apologizes to him, still crying. The colleague intervenes because he knows about his condition. Young feels guilty and tells them that she didn't know about his illness. He has to take her out of the room to calm her down. She goes home and decides to make soup for Ran, trying to take care of him because she feels guilty. Her brother helps her, and when she finishes, she goes to the hospital. Before entering, she hears her grandfather with him in the room, wanting to kick her out, but her brother stops him, knowing that she's not to blame for anything. Grandpa exits angrily, and she enters afterward, giving him the soup and telling him it's beneficial, urging him to leave the hospital quickly. She hands him the soup hastily and leaves. He decides to taste the soup and finds it very delicious, so he drinks it all. The next day, she goes to him and finds him with Sal, and they start working. She gives him the soup and leaves immediately. She waits for them outside. When they come out, she learns from them that an important project will be postponed due to his illness. She encourages them, insisting that they must present the project idea on time, and she'll help them. They agree, and she indeed helps them until they finalize the idea and everything. The day of the presentation arrives. They are at the reception when the waitress offers them juice and sweets. John eats from them, and suddenly he feels stomach pain and rushes to the restroom. The waitress calls them for the meeting, so he hurries to see John, but he finds the restroom under maintenance and can't find him. He's forced to enter with Young. The security stops him upon knowing he has a criminal record. Kim gets tense and tells the guard he's just a driver. He hands her the file and tells her to take over the mission, and she sneaks into the company. She attends the meeting, very tense and unable to speak fluently. However, with Ron's help, he presents the meeting on her behalf, assisting her. After they finish and head to the elevator, they find it not working, so they have to use the emergency stairs. As they descend, someone waits for Ran to throw dirty water on him, but Young intervenes and confronts him, getting wet herself. Ran covers her with his jacket because her clothes are wet. When they reach the bottom, Kim, who was supposed to put a cover in the car, finds Ran, but he stops him and drives off. This is the first time Ran has acted this way with someone. He drops her off at home, where she meets Leanne. The person sees her soaked and speaks harshly to Ron, saying she's his employee and shouldn't suffer like this. Ron reassures him not to worry about her because she's his maid, and he certainly doesn't want her to be embarrassed. Leanne takes her and leads her inside. Later, Ron goes to a women's clothing store and takes Kim with him to help choose a dress gift for Jan. After selecting it, he goes to her house to give it to her, but finds Leanne there. However, he doesn't pay attention to her. Both exchange challenging glances. Jan insists they leave to give her some rest. And indeed they do. She enters her room, sees the dress, and likes it. The next day, she goes to work, and John sees her and compliments her appearance. Especially the white color suits her. Then, Ron approaches her, and she hands him his jacket. Before he holds it, Kim sprays sanitizer on the bag. She thanks him for the dress and goes to continue her work. Later, Ran goes to the company's kitchen and finds the cup Young likes to drink from. He exchanges it with a new one of the same design. Young asks him what he's doing there, and he nervously says he was checking the cleanliness of the place. She takes her cup and is surprised to see it's new, but she drinks from it without much concern. Ron notices her discomfort and asks her if something is wrong. She tells him about a client who is disabled and moves around in a wheelchair. Before the accident, he was an athlete participating in tournaments. When she went to clean his place, he locked the door on her face. Ran reassures her that it's not her fault. After finishing her work, she goes to the cemetery to visit her mother's grave because today is her anniversary. Afterward, she sits on the swing near their house. He sees her and brings her strawberry ice cream. She accepts it and thanks him. The next day, she goes to work excitedly because she has a plan to convince the client to agree to have them clean his place. She informs him about it and he agrees. He tells her that Mr. Ron will be pleased with her efforts, especially since he initially didn't want to hire her. She smiles and tells him she likes Mr. Ron. Of course, Ran has just finished his work and leaves the office quickly before hearing more of her words. Because she had gotten close to the manager, Anne told him not to misunderstand her, as she loves him when he pays her salary. The manager laughs at her words. Meanwhile, Ren is in his office thinking about what she said. Once he takes out his cup, fills it with water and drinks. This is the first time he's drinking from a cup that belongs to her. At John's house, he dines with someone and feels sad because of the heavy burden his sister is carrying alone. May tells him that all he needs to focus on is passing the university entrance exam. If he gets accepted, their father and sister will be very happy, feeling that their efforts were not in vain. The next day, she wakes up her sister and takes care of her along with their father. They feed him well because he's going to the exam. She accompanies him to the exam venue and encourages him before he enters. John asks her for a hug, and before she can respond, he hugs her immediately. She feels a strange sensation. Young goes to the client and asks him to hear her plan. He lets her in but tells her not to come back again and shuts the door in her face. She goes to get the cleaning tools and starts cleaning, even going down to wipe the desk chair. He enters and of course they don't notice her. She overhears Kim saying that he likes Young because he always watches over her and never takes his eyes off her. However, he becomes flustered and tells him that he doesn't like her. He just watches her in case she makes any mistakes. Young then comes out from under the desk, upset by his words. She asks him if he really wants to fire her, and then Ren intervenes to ease the situation, indicating his presence. So she continues speaking and tells him that she is poor and loves money, and she works hard so he can have a lot of money to live a good life like them. But she does it her way, and leaves them feeling uncomfortable because he didn't mean what he said. The next day, she decides to get back at him, finds him inside with Ren's suit that he'll wear to the meeting. So she takes it from him quickly and tells him she'll iron it for him. When she goes down, she meets him on her way, and he apologizes for what he said. She tells him that it's all over now. He leaves, changes his clothes, and goes to the meeting. When he takes out his handkerchief, he finds a bad smell instead, and gets embarrassed in front of the employees. Afterward, she goes to spray his clothes with a bad smell so he won't know how to change the suit. He knows she's the one doing this, and remains silent. Later, he's sitting and eating, and he finds the soup in front of him and she tells him that she's upset that Rand didn't respond to her. He understands that he's busy and invites her to eat with him, but she refuses, saying she doesn't eat that kind of food. She notices someone taking their picture, so she grabs the food box to cover her face. She runs after the photographer and Kim runs after her and stops her. Indeed, he goes and deletes all the photos. That's all for today's video. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and check out our other selection of recaps. Take care.